Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Can y'all hear the music okay? I hope y'all are okay in this weather. Please drive safely. Make sure your phones are charged if anything tends to happen, which, thank you. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. How have y'all been? How's y'all day been today? So I feel like a lot of people don't know a lot about the history of Black History Month. So I'm super excited about this topic. It's good driving to work now. Dang, you just now getting to work? Please be careful. Please be careful. Thank you for tuning into my live, but be careful. But you make sure you have a good day at work. Work smart, not hard, as they say. We're gonna wait a little bit for our special guest to come and bless the live. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? We're just chilling until our special guest arrives in the place. So thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate y'all. Hey y'all, hey. It was not supposed to play. So our special guest has arrived. I guess we can go ahead and get started. So basically, this special guest is a financial coach as well as a public speaker. So I'm so excited to have him. Mr. Zachery Taylor. Hi.
I say, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Having a great day.
That's good. I'm excited. I'm so
Likewise.
happy that you took the time out to join us today. I'm super excited.
Absolutely, so am I.
Yes. So I did just want to do like a little icebreaker. I was looking at your bio,
Mm.
and it was like Basically, man, know thyself. So, can you explain to us what that means in your perspective? What does that mean?
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know, it actually comes from an African proverb or teaching, man, know thyself. It's actually on some of the Kemetic ancient walls there in ancient Kemet, or as we know today as Egypt. But what it means to me personally is really just knowing yourself and your history. Um,
Mhm.
that's just one level of it, though, right? Knowing your
Right.
family history, your cultural history, but also knowing who you are as an individual and why are you here? What are the gifts that you bring to this world,
Yeah.
and not allowing society to dictate who you are.
Yeah. So basically, like learning your purpose and then being okay with that, even if it kind of makes people upset or look at you funny, is like really knowing yourself and being okay and confident in like what you put out into the world.
Absolutely,
Understood. Understood. So we're gonna jump right into it. So basically, like yes, accepting who you are. I definitely agree to that. Um, So, kind of explain to us like who created Black History Month. What is Black History Month?
absolutely. So, first, I want to give y'all a little bit of background on the man that inspired Black History Month. His name is Carter G. Woodson. He was a renowned historian, author, as well as journalist. Um, his family, his mother and father were former slaves, and he managed to um, fight through those woes as a young man. He didn't go to high school until he was about 20 years old
Mm-hmm.
and still managed to get a PhD. Not too many Americans whose parents were formerly slaves was able to reach that height. So, um, but during his time in school as an educator and a historian, he was a part of the American Historical Association.
So, did he go to school for history? Like, was that his degree?
I don't recall exactly what his study was in. I know part of it was historical studies, but
Okay.
yeah, among the sciences and history, it was a number of things because he went to about three different schools.
Okay. Because I know I
Yep,
read an article and it was talking about how he actually was like his major was and he did get his degree and he like got the second degree or PhD in history out of like all of the colleges.
yep, yep. Originally went to school in Kentucky and then eventually went to Harvard University,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up teaching at Howard and a few other institutions as well.
Mm-hmm.
During his time part of the American Historical Association, he realized that they didn't really have any interest in Black history and acknowledging what we have done,
Right.
and that was just in that era, right? Not even
Yes.
not even shedding light on prior to slavery and
Mm-hmm.
colonization, and they actually didn't even allow him to be in the meetings.
Mm.
So he decided to shift and change that paradigm, um, and go out on his own, along with a few other bright men and other individuals, um, to start initially what was called the um, Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Right.
Okay.
Many people know Carter G. Woodson from his book called The Miseducation of the Negro. That's his most famous book.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, yep. He wrote several works. He's called the father of Black history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and during the year 1926, he joined the first um, Black professional fraternity. I think it's called Sigma Pi.
Yeah, I see some
And
back.
then And then he, of course, he joined Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and it was at their conclave. I believe it was like I can't remember which conclave it was, but it was in the early stages,
Mhm.
where he promoted the study of Negro History Week, and this was in February 1926.
So, can you kind of explain like how it's originated, like from like what time frame, what week did it come about?
Yep, yep. So uh, he originally dedicated the week or reserved the week during the so about 3 weeks ago during the week ending in the 14th, because that's the week in which both Abraham Lincoln's birthday is,
Hmm.
and then Frederick Douglass. Now, Douglass, his birthday is kind of like how Christians treat Jesus and his birthday. We don't know exactly
Hmm.
what date he was born,
Interesting.
So that's the date in which we celebrate. We know what year he was born, what I think month he was born, but they wasn't sure of the exact date.
Mm. That's
So they
interesting.
actually, right? So they actually picked February 14th, and because of what they have done, and of course we all know about the economic decision behind the Emancipation Proclamation that Abraham Lincoln wrote.
Right.
But because of them being at the forefront in the progression of Black people, he chose that week in specific.
Mm-hmm.
And through time, and actually, so for anyone who's watching, and I'm not sure if you know of the woman, so we all know about Rosa Parks and her
Right.
refusing to give up her seat.
Mm-hmm.
But then the woman who originated it, Claudette, I can't remember her last name. I want to say Claudette Oliver or Olivet. I can't remember her last name exactly.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's stated in a study that she was inspired to not give up her seat due to the studies that she was taught about Black people in her school when it was just a week.
Wow. So she basically was the first person to actually do it, but Rosa Parks kind of got like the global effect of it. Okay. And I wonder why.
Absolutely.
It's like we kind of like stop history. I'm like, okay, well, that's not important no more. We're gonna find somebody else to like show be the
That's
person now.
Yeah. Some people say that because of Rosa being lighter, they
I
always
was
choose
thinking
some.
that, but I
They
wasn't
all
gonna say
Yeah,
it.
they always try to choose somebody lighter or
Yeah.
docile to be the face. Like a lot of people, we love Dr. King, but he wasn't the person to originate the boycotting of the bus.
Mm.
There was a man, I can't remember his actual name, but James Earl Jones was play his character in a film where he was always trying to get people to get the idea of boycotting the bus systems, and then Martin Luther King comes along and everybody follows. So, but these are some of the things that have been inspired from Negro History Week. And again, it becomes such a phenomenon. And over time, by the time the 60s come,
Hmm.
um, around the time of Malcolm X's assassination, that's when it becomes Black History Month because it was granted as a somewhat of a national thing by so many governors in different states that they was like, all right, we need to make this a national thing everywhere.
It's so much stuff that I feel like that we don't know, like behind the scenes, like the actual history of Black History Month. So I'm really glad we are doing this. So okay, so why do you think he chose those two individuals to like actually like the week for that week to like stand that way?
Honestly, I it's not stated as to like his thought process behind it,
Yeah.
um, and why February in particular,
Hey.
why that week. There's nothing in my research that I found as to why he chose outside of what they've done
Yeah.
at the forefront. He probably could have chosen a different month or time period, but who knows as to why? Because of course all this started originally a few years before in 1915 when he founded um, the American Historical Association for African
Hmm.
American Life and History. But through time, of course, and it probably was because it was at this conclave as well. They held
Yeah.
this conclave in February in 1926, and I know from just studying that event that's when he proposed it to his fraternity organization. So.
Got you. Okay, so can you kind of? I know we didn't talk about that, but like the conclave, can you kind of like touch on it, like what it is?
Yeah, so the conclave is a convention.
Okay.
It's I want to say every 2-year convention where
Mhm.
different, well, not different, but fraternal members of that group will come together from different chapters, different states, different districts, come together. They celebrate. They probably gather together and uh, sit down and figure out ways to improve. Because again, all these fraternal organizations, from AKAs to alphas to omegas, they were originally founded to improve the community in which we all lived in,
Right.
right?
Right.
One to give the black man and woman a sense of pride and identity with oneself,
Mm.
not only because we were neglected from joining these other fraternal organizations, these white Greek fraternal organizations, but at the same time, they gave us a sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, and ability to come together with a common goal to improve our
Right.
community on so many different levels, from social, economical, political, and many others.
Mm.
But it's a convention.
I love that. I love that. And I think still today we all try to get collectively together. Do you feel like that is something that we need to work a little bit more hard on, or do you feel like we've like actually been maintaining what we're supposed to do as far as like building those fraternities and sororities to uplift the community?
So I was actually
Don't
asked
laugh
that
like
question.
that.
Well, no, because it's funny because you use the cardinal principle uplift
Okay.
from Omega Psi Phi. That's their last cardinal principle is uplift. Also the name of my part of the name of my brand. But I was actually asked that question by a fraternity member. He was like, "So do you think like we're still doing the same thing that our founders
Right,
um,
kind of
had the
the
idea of?"
foundation, yeah.
And I'll say this over the years, because all these different organizations have been around for 85 years, 90 years, over 100 years. And they've done so much. And this is even with a lot of celebrities and figures in the limelight. They've done so much, but it just doesn't get talked about. It's not plastered on the news. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we would think that they're not doing a whole lot when really they're doing something every year. Like I know majority of these organizations have mandates, programs that they put in place every single year to help uplift the youth when it comes to
Right.
their education, like scholarship contests and things of that nature. Now, as far as collectively,
Mm.
could there be some improvement? Yes, I definitely think so.
So collectively, like everybody, and not just sororities and fraternities, or like everybody.
Everybody.
So you
Granted,
feel
there are
like
people
collectively we're not being
not
uplifting to everybody.
not as much as we could and should, because people. So Muhammad Ali and Dr. King once had a discussion in a room, and these white people were scared. Like they so what were you guys talking about in there? And
Mm-hmm.
neither Ali or King would let them in on what the discussion was.
Yeah.
So and they was like, well, you guys have opposing views, different religious backgrounds. And I love Muhammad Ali's response. He was like, yeah, but we still brothers, right?
Right.
And Dr. King came in and said, yeah, we may have different religious views, but we still have the same common goal
Yeah.
and the same common enemy.
Yes.
So, to an extent, yes, everybody on all levels needs to be more collective, because now what I see, everybody has these different views on how things should be addressed and how you should move and how you should approach certain uh,
Mm.
situations and circumstances, that we tend to disagree instead of agreeing to disagree and move forward.
But the thing is about the agree and disagreeing thing, and somebody also said that they agree with is always room for improvement, and I agree with
Absolutely.
it too. But my thing is like, yeah, we might agree to disagree, but I don't think there's really. I think the main thing is like being understanding of the other person's like perspective on how to move forward, because we always fighting each other instead of fighting the problem, which is the common enemies sometimes, all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like
Absolutely.
we constantly fighting each other, and it's like they beating us. This is what they want us to do, and I don't think we see that sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was so two things out there. I just recently followed a guy, because I saw a reel that he made some time ago, and it kind of popped back up on my timeline, where he was
Yeah.
kind of trying to address different people of the African diaspora. And I think he initially said, my African American people, and then somebody was like, we no black people. And then of course he's playing another voice. We're not black, we're African American. And somebody says we're Moors, we're Jews, this, that, and the third. And somebody was like, well, they still see you as a nigga. Like, so we always trying to battle about what we identify as, what our religious views are, when really we can dish all that to the side and focus on the common goal of unity, no matter what our beliefs and philosophies are. Because I'm pretty sure all of us saw Black Panther, we got to see a glimpse of that. All
Right.
these different tribes had different ways of their lifestyles and cultures, but collectively they stood as one,
It's true.
right?
It's so true.
And the other reference I want to make is I watched a short clip of people playing characters of the different gods from different religions. I'm talking about Jesus and Buddha, all of them. They all sat at a table eating, drinking, and just chopping it up, laughing, like how different groups of people would at a business function.
Yeah.
And the illustration was like all this different views and wars over religion is really irrelevant because y'all all talking to, praying to the same energy force. So
Division is really been a thing, and it's like we don't see it. It's like we all really kind of doing the same thing, y'all. Like it might not be. I feel like everything. Well, I don't even feel like I know that all things are just a symbolic figure of the Most High, the Creator of all the universe. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we constantly fighting each other. Again, it's like we constantly fighting each other. Like, no, this is right. No, this is right. And it's like we all agree though. Like one thing that it's somebody else that like it's something.
yes,
Like it is out there, but we
yes,
don't care about nothing else. It's like it's okay. It's like we have to allow people to do what they want to do, but still work together to push forward. So it's like we really need to what do you think we need? Like what's something that we need to do? Like what's one thing that you can give us? And I do, before you answer that, I do want to mention something about, and I think this will probably be my answer, but something about when you was like on Black Panther. One thing that I love that they did in that movie is they went back to the ancestors for questions. And I don't feel like we go to the elders as much as we need to. And I know sometimes the elders don't want to go in this space sometimes, but it's like sometimes we need to have that communication in order for us to move forward. Because if we don't know the past, it's going to be hard for us to move forward because it always repeats itself. And we don't know, if we don't know how to make that certain move that you didn't make or that you did make, we need to know that for the next step.
absolutely.
So, what is one thing you feel like we should do?
They say if you don't know where you come from, you definitely don't know where you're going, right?
Mm.
So I believe I heard a suggestion. I think Nick Cannon asked KRS-One this question. Like,
Wait,
why don't we have KRS-One?
Okay.
Right? Because he was like, we don't, ever since, Malcolm X and King, we really haven't had that one, dominant leader that's the voice for us. And KRS-One said, we don't really need a leader. We didn't have all the examples.
Okay.
We've had all the examples that we've needed in the past. We need to come together, but this is where that understanding of one another has to come into play. Because again,
respect. Yes.
Because again, one of the things people, especially of our generation, we don't know a lot of intricate details about things, events in the past. Like when it comes to the civil rights movement, we see pictures of people marching.
Right.
All we see is the black people. We don't realize it was white people in there. There were different preachers and religious leaders of different faiths walking with Dr. King because they realized that if we are all God's people and we all see that one of our family members in this human race is getting screwed over, well, we all doing wrong, just by letting it go by. So what I believe needs to happen is we need to have some of our leaders from all fronts, politics, economics, religion and spirituality, the medical field, and try to bring them together to one that's why I said I want to have a panel. Right, bringing people of different professions together to have these discussions, because people like you and I can bring some of these topics, some of these discussions to the forefront, and try to have a level ground to where everything is mediated. There isn't any, no disrespect going back and forth, and understand that we have a goal like that, and that's what the white people did. They all had different views and viewpoints and stuff, but when it came to sitting in that room in the Congo, right, and divide different scriptures up, they got think tanks. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of think tanks, but people come together and have think tanks and plan out how they gonna have these agendas. So, and there are people doing it. It just needs to be a lot more of us being willing to sit down with different people. And it's tough.
Okay, so you was like basically how the white people were in on it and the other ethnicities, but at the same time I do not I would not hinder help or receiving help or love from other people, but at the same time, I feel like for us meaning black people, the black community,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we don't have a foundation for ourselves in order for, like, if somebody else is helping us, like, why are we not helping ourselves? You know what I'm saying?
We can't. Dr. Claude Anderson said we cannot really afford to. We're already integrated, but trying to integrate people into what we're doing, that ain't never helped black folks. Other cultures don't really integrate like that. Like, yeah, they may chime in and do different stuff here and there, but they stick to their culture.
That's what I'm saying, and they fight for themselves. They fight for their women. They fight for their men. It's like they always together no matter what, because it's like they psychologically like already know like what the problem is or who the problem is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Why
And
do you
they
feel like
talk
we
about
don't?
this at home.
Huh?
I said, and they talk about this stuff at home. Like it's very.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure um it's evident that they have these conversations with their children about cultural identity.
Mm.
You know, Muhammad Ali said it in one of his interviews, like, you ain't gonna see no Chinese man with a Spanish woman, and if they do, what's gonna happen when the Chinese music come on? You know, the Spanish woman ain't gonna be dancing when Spanish music come on.
Right.
Chinese man ain't gonna be like. Granted, you can do that. You can marry whoever you want to, but understand the plight of what happens to your culture when you marry outside of your culture.
Yes. It essentially just will decrease.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a long work in progress. And a part of where all that stems from is, I'm pretty sure, something you want plan to jump into next is the Willie Lynch letter.
Yes, I do, because it's like it's really kind of like we can't go around it, because I feel like that is kind of, but before we jump into that though, I do want to say, why do you feel like we don't communicate it like in the house home?
So me and my mom had a discussion earlier today about post-traumatic stress disorder,
Mm,
and how a lot of people think it only has to deal with war.
right.
We carry post-traumatic slavery disorder from our ancestors.
Yeah.
It's in our genetic code, and
Yes.
kind of like what you alluded to earlier about, um, older persons, our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, they just don't like
Diving
either
into that.
don't really want to talk about that stuff
Yeah.
and don't know how to. And this is where I'm growing and really trying to understand a person's mind frame and their thought process based on their own experiences and how they perceive things, right?
Yeah.
There could be a six on the ground, chalked on the ground, but depending on which angle you're standing at, I see a six, and the other
Mm,
person on the side of me sees a nine. So
mm.
until I come to the other side to where they're standing to see it
Yeah.
from their people, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a nine, you know?
Yeah.
And so I say that because I listen to tapes of slaves or former slaves, like, months or a year after they had been let go, released,
Yeah.
basically. And hearing their speech, the way they think about themselves, how highly they talk about their former master,
Yeah.
they have literally been stripped of any type of self-identity and dignity. So by the time we have our great grandparents or grandparents who are sharecroppers, and then our parents, who some of them are fortunate to have the identity that they have,
Yeah.
that stuff gets lost in the conversation by the time. And again, they stressed out. It's something me and my mom talked about again. You so worried and stressed out about life and trying to make it, you don't have the mental space and time to try to teach your son or daughter about what it is means to be a black man or a black woman, and
Yeah.
sticking to somebody that's in your culture. So
Yeah.
it has to. It's a mental shift. That's a revolution starts in the mind. It won't be televised.
Woo! Speak, brother, speak. And really, I can relate to everything you're saying, and I just wanted to be like a vessel for everybody else, because my parents born in the 50s, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
they literally like were kind of brought like straight from like all the slavery stuff, and like had to integrate into like the white schools and things. So they had to fight every day to go, to school, come back home, and it was probably really, I'm not no probably, it was stressful for them. So like in my household, like we really didn't talk about like Black History Month or like things that happen as far as like slavery and all of that, we couldn't. I couldn't watch stuff like that. Like I don't know if my brother could. Me and my brother like 11 years apart, but it's like I couldn't, watch any of this stuff at home. So like this is very new to me, the things that we're discussing, and I'm hoping that it's new to everybody else, or it's just an eye opener thing to kind of get in that space again, so that we can move forward. We don't have to bottle in this conversation, or keep these conversations like under the rug, and just like no, like your history now, like let's move on.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the Willy Lynch letter, like understanding like, well, what it is, and then why it's a problem.
Yeah. So before I get into it, I want to say real quick, one thing that I'm finding a lot of value, and I just learned about my great grandfather. Had no knowledge of him being a baseball coach in my hometown in Decatur, Illinois.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say to you and to anybody else that's watching on this live right now, if you haven't learned anything about your grandparents, great grandparents, or even if they're still alive, and you can talk to them, ask questions, right?
Yes.
You ain't got to get too deep about some stuff that they might not want to share, but
Yeah.
just ask them about what things were like when they were growing up. Because one
Yeah.
thing that I find, like
I
with my
love
grandma in particular, exactly.
love them.
My grandma in particular, she actually smacked a white girl in like elementary school for not letting her play with jacks. I don't know how old some of y'all are, if y'all got to play with jacks
Man,
when y'all was
Jax is
kids.
the game, okay? I don't
Right,
even think they
right.
have them no more.
No, they don't. But she slapped a white girl for not letting her play jacks with them, and then slapped the principal. And she again, this is like elementary school. But if you was to ask my grandma about white people, she was like, she cool with white people. She worked for a white woman for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk to your family, learn some family history.
Yes. Yes.
But moving
I,
forward
I do want to talk to your grandma though, like for slapping her like this. This gotta be a cool story.
Nah, when she told me that, I was like, you did what?
Right.
You was bold, woman.
Man. I love it. I love it.
Right.
We
Oh
like just like we
man.
got through talking about, like we have to be okay with ourselves. Like first of all, you gonna respect me and what I want to do, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, the Willie Lynch letter is, to my surprise, that I've been finding out over the past couple of years,
Yeah.
many people either have not heard of it
Uh-huh.
or they haven't read it.
Okay.
And
And it's not
honestly,
that long, right?
to me, it's not that long.
I
I'll
would
read
say
some
to
stuff.
me it's not that long.
When you have stuff that you're interested in, you'll read it nonstop.
Right.
There are many people that just can't rock with read. They don't even like reading long messages in a text message. So to expect some of these people to read a Willie Lynch letter when it talks about the breaking down of the black man and the black woman, it's like, bro, I can't read this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we got to get over that. We have to
Yeah.
learn. Like I told you about my friend, she studies white supremacy. We have to study how they think. Batman knows how all of his villains and arch nemesis think. That's why he can defeat them every time.
And don't they study us? Like I feel like you have to study your enemy to know your enemy to know how to conquer your enemy. You know what I'm saying?
That's where the saying "keep your friends closer and your enemies closer" comes from, essentially.
Mm.
Right. So
Okay.
the Willie Lynch letter
Yeah.
was created when slave masters here in America in the early stages had a lot of trouble keeping the slaves in check, keeping stuff in order, wherever the case may be.
Yeah.
So they wrote to Willie and was like, "Hey man, we need some help. Help me." Right. I've heard many businessmen that are now wealthy said that their business was cool, but once they had a business coach come in, it got way better.
Yeah.
Slavery was a business, right?
Mm.
So he came in and spoke to them. I believe somebody had to be transcribing at this time because he came in and spoke to these people. I don't believe he wrote a letter and dished it out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was preaching to these
Right.
white boys.
He
Right.
came in with a whole scenario. Okay, I'm gonna let you talk. Okay.
Oh, now you good. You good. Remember, this is all organic. We don't hear
Yes.
till
Okay.
everybody ready to go. But so it was a sense of, okay, y'all need help with y'all slaves. I'm gonna show y'all what a system I've put in place over there in Britain or somewhere in Europe, because I've been successful. If you use these same tools and philosophies and concepts, you will see success. And after a while, just like a person building a business for passive income, you won't have to keep turning the wheel no more. It'll just turn on its own.
Like, train them right, you ain't got to train them again.
Exactly.
And you ain't got to train their children again.
Because the parents gonna do it.
Right.
You know?
And they don't even know. But okay.
They don't even know. So he broke it down into many different levels, from understanding first the psychology of them.
Yeah.
Again, you just said it. They had to study us. So they couldn't defeat us if they didn't know how we think. And all the scholars, Kaba Kamene and Jordan DeGray, they'll tell you that they knew we were a spiritual people.
Right.
So we have to break their spirit and the connection that they have to their cultural way of identifying with the Most High. Right. Then there's as many other aspects. I can't remember them all because it was a lot. Right.
Yeah.
But there's the separating the black man. Right. You break the families apart, divide them up into different sections, give the children workloads so that they don't really see their family.
And we see today. Okay.
They understand that the woman is the vessel of life in itself. Me and my mom talked about how the black woman is at the bottom of this whole food chain. And in a sense, she's right. But at the same time, women are also put above black men because they understand if we can put the man in the eyes of the woman as weak, they don't even want to be with him. Right?
So it's basically her becoming the masculine female at this point.
Yes.
And the man kind of becoming feminine. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say feminine because women can be strong. It's more so like he doesn't even know who he is at this point.
Okay.
Right. So something like no sense of self. Right. Okay. Man, know thyself. So something as an act like raping a man in front of the entire slave congregation.
Yeah.
That pants sagging thing did not originate in jail. It originated on the plantation. It's part of the reason why Jamaicans are so against homosexuality. Batiman, what do you do? Like they're on that. They be on that because it was prevalent. In Jamaica. In the different islands, it was prevalent. Like they practiced that heavy.
Yeah.
A lot of speakers talk about how homosexuality was not common at all in our culture. That comes from Greeks and Romans.
Yeah.
So you degrade this man. He's been raped in front of his wife, his kids, and everybody else that looks like him. And then they made them sag their pants to let everybody know, you get out of line just like this nigga did. You getting it too. Right? 12 years a slave, right? That's based on a true story. They force us as men to whip our women while they're tied against a tree. The Battle Royale, that's a wrestling competition in today's sport. Well, back on the plantation, they used to have young black boys compete in a battle royale where they were literally blindfolded in the ring fighting for scraps. So I'm thinking to myself, reading this, like, well, damn, if I'm 7 years old and I'm thrusted in a ring with other boys that look like me, and I've been swinging for scraps, when I get out and the blindfold is taken off, who can I trust? Because we all just been in the ring fighting. Who can I really rock with day to day? Nobody. Yeah. So there was always a constant building of distrust between people. He also talked about in that letter dividing them by generation. And what do you see today? Every generation. I don't know what's wrong with this generation.
Yes.
And we can never have a good discussion between the Gen Z, right? Gen Z and Gen X with the baby boomers. We can never really come to an agreement on certain things because our views are totally different.
It ain't the way we used to do it. First of all, let's take what you have and take what I, and dang, what's the name of the movie? It's a movie. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Shaft.
Oh,
When basically they finally, like, I think it's like actually 3 generations in there, and they basically were fighting at first, and it's like, okay, like, hold on, let me take with this because this might help me, and let me take this because this might help me. It's like, come on, look at it
talking
intertwined
about the second
somewhere.
one, right, with his son?
Yes,
Yeah,
with Samuel
absolutely.
L. Jackson's son, and then it
Yep.
also got Samuel L. Jackson's dad, and it's like I love how they
Yes.
kind of put that. It was really like mostly like the new age with the old age. So I like how they kind of combined it and made it like the real world thing. Because
And they
it's
did
kind
that,
of like how it's going now.
and they did that at the end of Black Panther as well, right? He realized that the other Panthers' tradition of staying isolated as a country, as a nation, was like, all right, but we have African people everywhere else, and they're dying
Mm-hmm.
and suffering. So T'Challa was like, all right, I'm about to change this whole get up, and that was all
Right.
from the conflict that he had with his cousin.
Yes.
And that's why they say a lot of times conflict can or crisis sometimes allows for an opportunity to happen, for something great to happen. um,
Mm-hmm.
but that letter, he discusses so many ways on different levels, from generation to skin tone
Mm-hmm.
to gender,
Mm-hmm.
on how to separate us, like
Mm-hmm.
you said earlier, when the black man is taken advantage of, right, out of fear.
Yeah.
We got 2 kids.
Yeah.
For hypothetical purposes, me and you have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and I'm
Right.
taken from you in front of you, right?
Right.
And I'm stripped of my dignity, I'm raped, they might even burn me, right?
Yeah.
So now, out of fear, what you do is you tell your son, you tell our son, you got to obey master, you
Yeah.
got to do what
Right.
master says,
Basically, so you don't get nothing wrong with you. Like,
right? And then in reverse, you teach your daughter to be a lot more dominant, more verbal, outspoken, and what it does is create a disconnect in terms of gender identity and how we
mm,
um, reveal ourselves in terms of our natural selves.
yes.
So it's a they did their homework and they did good. Like,
Yeah. And even in the Willie Lynch letter, like, did it say anything about like how long this would possibly last or anything like that?
yes, yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Okay.
Um, he does talk about how, and this is how strategic white people are,
Uh-huh.
supremacists are.
Uh-huh.
He said that, and this was, uh, I can't remember the year, but
Mm-hmm.
I do remember the time frame in which he said it would last. He
Mm-hmm.
said, if you do these things, you won't have to keep implementing these philosophies and these practices.
Right.
They'll perpetually continue these on through their
Mm-hmm.
children, and it will last about 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in the brackets, that year was like 2017.
Woo.
And so, for me, for you, for anybody on this on the live right now, just
Yeah.
think of how you remove yourself from a way of thinking 3, 4 years ago, but you're
Yeah.
still removing some of those layers. I
Yeah.
talked to you earlier. I don't prescribe to any religion, right? But
Yeah.
I still like listening to gospel songs.
Right. You see, like, listen to what?
Gospel songs.
Cause they old spiritual, like they speak to your soul. Like this is like
Exactly.
our core. Like you
Exactly.
cannot break away from it, like whatsoever. I feel like with any type of religion, you still go listen to them old spiritual songs, like for real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, it takes a while for that um, to remove ourselves from that way of
Yeah.
thinking, even when we get awakened. You mentioned, or you spoke of, that one brother that's real enlightened, Yaki. Um, I saw a video where he talked about, oh man, a natural birth,
Uh-huh.
and how the children who don't have their umbilical cord prematurely cut off, they're receiving all this nutrients and information from their
Mm-hmm.
past life, and and
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
and
literally
um
what the umbilical cord is. Okay.
and the ancestors, and they can recollect their past life almost instantly when they're born, or at least when they get into knowledge of understanding, as well as they're awakened immediately. Whereas
Yeah.
somebody who has went through all this Western European BS,
Right.
right? on
cutting
top
it
of the
off and
on
like
top of the
have a
stuff
book
that we
about
go
it.
through. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying like what the process he's talking about is like the lotus birth by not cutting off the umbilical cord, having it still attached to the placenta.
Yes, yes. And along with everything else that we go through, programming through social media and these other external factors that
Yeah,
teach us more than our parents do because they're
yeah,
at work and we're at school. It takes a person now 20, 25 years to become awakened.
right. And I feel like something is so little as cutting the umbilical cord and then also not even having the skin to skin contact with your baby. It's like literally like as soon as the
Yes.
baby come out, it's going to somebody else. Then it's coming back to you, then it's getting clean, wiped off, then you finally touch it. And it's like they kind of like already is kind of putting in like a certain type of uh traumatic experience. Like why are you hitting on it? Then you gotta go to somebody else, get cleaned out, wiped off, and then come back to your mother. Like that's just
Very
it's just too much. And like just understanding how it used to be like a long time ago. People used to have their babies at home, get their baby, and like it used to be like fine, no problems, no complications whatsoever. But I do want to touch on like being okay or not being okay, but just kind of being patient with ourselves during this time because it's a lot that we have gone through and we're still going through and still having to get out of. These 400 years is like, that's a lot. That's plenty generations of like being passed down, and then also suppressing all of the conversations, all of the things that we need to like speak about because those are going to kind of release so that we can be able to like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is I'm looking at the blueprint now. Okay. I'm seeing how it's working. And then once you finally like read the Willy Lynch letter, like you like, okay, this does make sense. This what is going on. So like I need to like tap out of this. And it's like
yeah.
for us to be having these conversations and for us to know these things about having the lotus birth and things like that, it's like we're starting that generational wealth.
Transition.
Yeah, so that we can, thank you, so that we can like be able to like, prosper and uplift ourselves. Like we really, really need that in our community. I think that's one thing that I feel like we need, like just to be able to like go back to our roots.
So Dr. Joy DeGry,
Hmm.
I love her. I love how because she'll sit up in a conference room or a classroom full of white folks, teaching them, putting them on game,
You hear me?
like and not holding back at all. And I know that they be hearing it because they be sitting there like taking notes, like she's saying some real ass shit because she's coming with scholarly information. She's
Mm.
presenting in a scholarly manner. That's what KRS-One said about hip hop. If you present, no matter who you're talking to, you present. I'm sorry,
No, it's okay.
information to someone
Yeah.
in a scholarly manner.
Uh-huh.
You gonna win.
Yes.
You are going to win. But the point I wanted to make was she talked about in this classroom about post traumatic slave disorder.
Mm.
He was like, do y'all know of any records or recall any time during slavery where people received therapy?
Yeah.
No. Well, how about after slavery? No. Okay. Like, and she just kept going and going. And it's like, well, damn.
Yeah.
Like, and not only is the effect of the Willie Lynch letter and what they practiced on us during slavery,
Mm-hmm.
but then the Jim Crow era.
Mm.
So now, and many people have seen it, but when you look at the timeline in which we've had civil rights, and
Yeah.
this is the thing, what are civil rights?
Mm.
What does it mean to be civil? You can be civil at a time. That don't mean that's a forever thing.
But
We
if we
should
were so civil, I feel like, not to cut you off, but if we were so civil, we wouldn't need cops. You know what I'm saying? Like we wouldn't need all of these things. And I feel like because of the things that happened with the Willie Lynch letter, it's like we don't know ourselves, so we disrespect other people, and we cause like a lot of freaking drama. And we do have that PTSD, so it's like when things happen, we are the aggressive ones, even though we have a reason to be aggressive, but we still need to be able to be centered and know what we're doing next. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. And with the Willie Lynch letter, Jim Crow, and the next one I was gonna make was we were fighting for civil rights, should have been fighting for equality, right? And so I think Dr. Claude Anderson said that. But we've only been about, what, 50 to 55 years removed from the Jim Crow era. So, like, when you really put it in perspective, we've only been in a state of really building ourselves up, like how we were during Reconstruction. We've only been in that phase for as long as my stepdad has been alive. My dad is 53 years old. And just think about it. There's people living that's 90 years old, 107 years old, that lived through both world wars and have seen so much. And they expect us, kids that was born in the 90s and the 2000s, to just be, oh, y'all buying all these Jordans. And like, it's going to take time. And like Dr. Kaba Kamene says, when y'all want to sit and ask what's wrong with the young people, he's like, I always, hey, my little bro in here. He always takes a mirror with him. So when people ask what's wrong with the youth today, he'd be like,
exactly. It's like they try to always bring it on us, but it's like we stem from you. So how is that a thing? And I know you mentioned equality. Do you feel like we need equality or do we need equity? But before you answer that question, somebody said it feel like somebody said it feel like we still in Jim Crow, just advanced technology. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Like nothing has really, everything has been transformed. You got to think about everything that we've brought to this world. We've brought everything: technology, science, arts, astrology, everything. But what the white man and woman has done is that they've twisted it and reconstructed it to match their agenda and their culture. So when it comes to, and just think about this, right? Nothing has changed but time. Think about this. If I own you and I have power and authority over you, why am I going to give that up? Oh, because you and a few other people was marching and y'all made a speech. Okay, I'm going to give y'all what y'all think is civil rights and equality, but there's still something else in the back end to where you ain't about to get ahead.
We get distracted. Let some new pop off. Oh, we done doing that. Just like it's what's been happening, all these killings and stuff like that. What are we doing now? What are we doing?
Right.
Did we forget? Oh, right. But we still shopping at H&M when they didn't do something like, it's like we forget about the little bitty things that really freaking matter. We, the black people, are like the culture. We put out the culture. We put out the money. We put out like the energy and the time that we give into other people, and we can create our own, do our own thing. But it's like we be fucking forgetting. Sorry for cursing. Well, I'm not sorry for cursing.
About to say, no.
Fucking forgetting shit that's been going on all the fucking time, and this shit really gets upsetting. But I'm trying to like remain calm because it's like, come on, like we gotta stop doing it. And I know like just me and you are like here, but it's like a lot of people probably feel this way, but we need to understand or figure out what we can do next. And I think it takes little steps. Like,
yeah, no, it does take little steps because I mean, I'm not, you know, I have all, you know, who I follow on Instagram now is, if it ain't something that's, you know, getting me inspired or something teaching me about business, is somebody black promoting black businesses or black wealth and black unity. But don't mean I'm like everything in my room or in my house or my attire in terms of my clothes is from black owned people. I still have shopped here and there. But at the end of the day, and I even know people that are, that's all they do is talk about black history and educate people and do this, that, and the third. For black people still wear, you know, a Nike brand here or there, whatever the case may be.
Right.
It takes small steps. Now, for some people, they can shift overnight.
Yes.
Like some people that can, I'm pretty sure you with the eating, you know what I'm saying? They can be like, oh, that's what's going on with these animals, or that's what's going on in my body. Bet I ain't eating no more.
Right.
Whereas for some people, right, for some people it's like it takes 6 months, maybe a year to slowly get out of eating meat, right, or drinking soda and putting sugar in their coffee and things of that nature. So yeah, black owned banks, right? Right?
I agree.
Everything starts with the economy. And going back to the question that you asked me about equality and equity, we won't have equality until we have equity. Like Dr. Claude Anderson talks about it all the time. Like we could want them to treat us fairly in all these other facets of life. But at the end of the day, we don't contribute to anything in terms of production. We are
Yeah.
consumers and not producers.
Mm.
You
Agree.
don't bring, and this is me speaking from the white perspective or the Jewish perspective. You don't bring in anything to the table.
Right.
You don't bring anything to the table. So why should I try to give you anything? And granted, they do need to give us our reparations,
Right.
right?
You think?
But, huh?
Huh?
I was gonna say, did you say, do I think that they will?
Yeah.
No. No, they've given. I watched the video where it's on newscast. They have given every single other culture that has been through some type of apartheid or the Holocaust. They've given that culture reparations,
We ain't got nothing.
and they ain't giving
They
it to us.
probably know what we would do. Like just based off the Black Wall Street. I wasn't even trying to go through like all this thing, but it's like they know what we can do, how powerful we can get. But as I said before, the distractions keep coming in. We be like, this something. It's like stay on one accord, stay focused, and stay like ground yourself, be centered, so that we can get to those things. Somebody said people don't have unity, and I feel like the reason why we don't have Black unity or we don't have unity, that kind of stops us from going to those Black banks, because as you know, like most Black banks, like they don't have a lot of Black, they don't have a lot of I don't know what to call it. You don't see them around a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
they
you
don't have
see
a lot of brick
bridges,
and
like it's
mortars.
like five down, like this one street, and it's like
Talking about
we
the
have
brick
this
and
Black
mortars, the
bank.
actual
It's kind of
building.
more convenient for them to get regions, because like once you go out of town, boom, it's right there, and it's like you have to do so much, which I still I can't say anything about that because I have not I have looked into going with the Black bank, but I've never just put my money into it and my all
Yeah.
into it. It's something that
So
I think we should do though.
I don't even have. I'm not even with a major bank right now. But what I
Mm-hmm.
am planning to do is switch to a major bank,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then slowly funnel my money to a Black-owned bank, right? Especially if they don't have a brick and mortar. If everything is kind of if it's all online banking,
Yeah,
right? Because eventually we keep banking with these banks, their capital will grow, the resources will grow,
yeah,
funding will grow, things of that nature. But it takes one or two persons to take a step forward and actually do those things, right? Because once you take the step and start putting your money in a Black bank and you tell the people about the benefits of it and how good you feel when you go into this bank, or you get a better rate of return on your money banking with this institution versus with Bank
yeah,
of America. Right now, people will slowly start to migrate to the Black-owned banks, right? Um, and it's again, it's going to take some time, but we cannot be afraid to be the leader and walk alone when it
mm-hmm.
comes to certain things about our people. One thing I learned in business um, was that you have to first be willing to basically look like a fool,
Yeah,
because you think about it, the leaders are always labeled as such in the beginning,
yeah,
right? They ridicule you and they try to discredit you, but then after a while they start to catch on and they
mm-hmm.
want to join. The illustration that was put out in this video was this one kid dancing like crazy, like at a beach. And
Mm-hmm.
some other kid comes along and he started dancing with him. Next thing you know, it's a whole crowd of people doing this dance. And the two original guys that was dancing have stopped dancing.
Why?
Well, while they stopped dancing, they probably was tired or just didn't feel like dancing no more. But you can't be afraid to
I was trying not
look.
to laugh. Okay.
Now we gotta laugh, okay? You gotta be afraid to not look like a fool.
Mm, understood. Understood. Somebody said in the comments, the basically what we can do is the Black families pushing for lawyers and doctors to represent more. What I can say on that is, uh, this is just based on my experience of like what I've been observing, my understanding. I don't feel like the society, or the system rather, the system is already made for us not to evolve in it. So I feel like with the doctors, they need to be more holistic doctors, so we can just create our own, you know what I'm saying? It's like we can't go into something thinking we can kind of change it as much because it's already a blueprint there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we
Mm-hmm.
can't like gravitate towards something that's already set for us to be down. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely. I said to somebody the other day, like we're in the devil's playground. We're in the white man's land. Like this is their arena that we're in.
yeah,
They have the quote unquote home court advantage, right? Art of War, like definitely a good book to read. If some of y'all
okay,
haven't read it, Art of War is a very good book because it teaches you like the defensive strategy. Whether you're trying to be in power or you just want to be mentally two steps ahead,
yeah.
right? So that's definitely a great
And
read.
even the book you kind of mentioned, like how to actually speak. What's it called? Think to what?
Oh, think and argue.
Yeah.
Um, how to argue and reason.
Okay.
Or no, think again. How to argue and reason.
You said think again.
Think again. How to argue and reason. That's the subtitle.
All right.
And um, and going back to the representation of black doctors and lawyers, like yeah, to a degree, like they can literally have the and this is what I say about presidents. Like people were so excited about Biden and Kamala Harris. Like, and I'm just sitting there like, bro, y'all do realize like that don't mean nothing. That person is a puppet, and even if that person really did want to go in there and try to change things, they cannot. They are the CEO. The CEO owns nothing. They are the face and the representation of the people moving the strings. Like the shareholders of the company are the ones that's really doing it. The
Mm-hmm.
CEO is just the face. If a company is doing bad, they can fire the CEO. Shareholders ain't getting fired,
But at the
right?
same time, I feel like a lot of CEOs, I don't know if everybody's kind of been watching, like they've been stepping down for some reason. It's a new world right now. So a lot of things I feel like that, that we won't, I feel like they already come into place. And not just based on like the physical world, but it's more of the spiritual
No,
world.
it's that time. It's
Yeah.
that time. I told you like when I had that conversation with my friend who I'm working on a podcast with that when he kind of broke down to me like bro, you see they already panicking. The
Mm-hmm.
reign is coming to an end. And I thought about looking back at all the dynastic periods and the different kingdoms and reigns that happened in ancient Kemet when it was, just all black people and Nubians. And then the Hyksos came through and they ran for a little bit of time. Then the Nubians took over again. And then the Romans came in and right, right. They beat me to it. We're moving into the age of
Right.
Aquarius. So there is a
It's a
dynamic,
spiritual war.
it's a shift going on. They say
Yes.
that when you shift from one age to another, that there's an entire paradigm shift in the entire consciousness, and that's why
A lot of
people are
people are waking up.
people are leaving religion
Mm.
for that main reason. Because when you look at, and I know me and you talked about this, one of the main symbols of Christianity is the fish. Well, what age are we in right now, and what zodiac sign is a fish? Pisces. How many fish did he use to feed all the masses of people? Two fish, right? And we're moving to the age of Aquarius. And I'm trying to speed this through a little bit because I'm trying not to go on a tangent. But the
No, go ahead.
disciples asked
Speak.
him,
Speak.
the
Please. They need
disciple,
to know.
right? Disciples asked him, where do we go during the time of Passover?
Yeah.
Passover is the springtime. What's passing over? The sun is passing over the equator into the northern hemisphere. Thus, when the spiritual leaders talk about being on Jesus rising to the right hand of the throne of God,
Right.
that's you getting to a spiritual alignment of yourself as well as the sun moving into that northern hemisphere. But they asked him, how do we know where to go during Passover? When you get to the city, there'll be a man bearing a pitcher of water. And that's the glyph of the Aquarius is a man bearing a pitcher of water. So, yes, to sum that point up, everything that
Mm-hmm.
we are wanting is slowly coming into effect. We're trying to rush things. Like, it's going to happen. We just got to keep working, stay
Yes.
persistent, stay
Yes.
persevering,
Yes.
and we will get there because their reign is coming. Kaba Kamene, or their reign is coming to an end. Kaba Kamene talks about that all the time. He's like, it ain't over until we win, family.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
is not over until we win. And that is a reassuring statement to let everybody know, like, the world really will not end with them on top. It can't.
Right. And
It's
I
not
feel like
designed that way.
not on top right now. It's just the fact that this is the physical world where it looks like it's the illusion. And I also wanted to point out like how we keep mentioning it's going to take time and time and time. And then also you mentioned how we don't need to rush, but it's like, yeah, because everything is it's in divine time. It's going to happen, and time is an illusion. So don't think about it as though like we have to get it at this certain point. Just as long as you keep doing what you're doing, you're spiritually aligned with who you are. You know yourself. Man know thyself. Like those things are going to take place because if we trying to fix everything outside of us all the time, it's not gonna work. The world is kind of destructive because we already are self-destructing ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
And part of the reason, this is why, like, psychologically, I cannot get with Christianity. No disrespect to anybody who follows the Christian faith, because my stepfather's a pastor and I go to his church. Okay. But there's a psychological difference when it comes to certain religions, because especially Christianity, because now you have this idea that when you die, like that's it. You either go to
Right.
heaven or you go to hell. So now there's a constant pressure on you to try to live the best life, live the right life, and you only have a certain amount of time. You only have a certain amount of time. So for a lot of leaders, what they're trying to do and progress our culture is they feel like they only have but so much time.
Mm.
And one thing I was able to come to terms with in this conversation with my friend was like, man, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing,
Doing what you're doing.
and I'll come back eventually.
Yes. Yes. And then I don't know if you said this. I feel like you did. You know that time about the what were we talking about? The tombstone, that dash.
Yes.
Was it you?
Yes. That was in my
Yeah,
video.
that
Yes.
dash. Well, you explained it so because you said it better. But I feel like that dash is a time frame that means the most. Like we need to be actually doing something in between those times. Those are the times where it's like it don't matter about the beginning or the end. It matters about what you're doing. How are you helping somebody? How are you helping a community? How are you helping yourself? Save yourself first before you can save somebody else.
Yeah. I lost a friend last year. He passed away the day of my grandmother's
He
birthday.
transitioned.
Yes, thank you. That's actually what I typically always say.
It's
Sometimes,
okay. No, say what you normally say. Like open your throat chakra. Whoever's supposed to be meaning to like hear this,
yeah,
like plant
yes,
those seeds for them. So we good.
I say. So his transitioning helped me realize that it really is not about you getting to a certain stature of life, but how do you impact the people around you? Because this one thing that he said to me, I will always keep with me. And this was a brother who was old enough to be my father. But when we met at school, he was like, brother, I can relate to you. I like the energy that you got and how you speak.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said to me
He
in
gonna
trying
write
to
a book, y'all. Okay, keep going.
and trying to I quit and trying to uplift me was go out on a limb, because that's where the fruit is. I had never heard nothing like that before. I was
I
like,
like that.
hold up.
I
I
like
like
that.
that. Right. Go out
Go
on a
out on the limb
limb.
this way. Can somebody type that down there? I like that.
I
Okay.
swear, go out on a limb, because that's where the fruit is. And that goes back to what so many leaders and successful people in history have been trying to tell us. Napoleon Hill said, you will lose yourself and live a miserable life listening to your friends and family and neighbors. God is always talking to you. God is always speaking to you. One of my aunts said when I was in high school that you have these voices in your head. Like, what do you think those voices are? That's God talking to you, right?
It's
So
about which one you want to listen to, too.
Right? Which wolf are you feeding? The one of negativity or the one of positivity?
Yes.
Right?
Which one is benefiting you or finna, like, yes.
Absolutely.
Come on with it.
So my friend was able to impact me in a way to where it was like, okay. And he lived to maybe about in his 50s, maybe.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had that impact on my life, another mentor of mine that passed away tragically the week of Thanksgiving, he was the Bible talks about a cheerful giver. And that's what he was.
Yeah.
He was a person that he was no supervisor at work, but he was he worked there for a long time at UPS, and if you said something about you being hungry or whatever, he was gonna be like, "You ain't got nothing to eat." I'm not. Hold
I
on.
got you.
Right. We ain't about to go there. Right.
Right.
You don't eat. You've been
Yes.
working hard. So it's really about what you do and how you impact people. It doesn't matter about the time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Shout out to everybody on the live right now.
I know. I know. Y'all been really rocking with us and like actually putting me in. I love that. I love
Definitely
it.
love it. Definitely
Love
love
it.
it.
Oh my goodness. This has been such a great topic. Like I don't even want to stop, but I feel like we can go like so long with different topics and like my goodness. Is it something that y'all want to like chime in on? Like
Right.
goodness. Goodness, goodness, goodness.
I do want to touch back on one thing. I know
Okay.
somebody said something about the representation of lawyers and doctors.
Okay.
Again, getting back to that arena part, right? Like they could want to make changes in the medical field or in the court of law,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I look at the way the system is set up. It's not set up for us. It's set up for them, for them
Mm.
to rule and to conquer. So when you try to change things, it's like you got to go. So
Yeah.
many people have spoken out when it comes to that are in the medical field, spoken out against the vaccine and talked about black boys at a higher proportionate rate getting oh my gosh, the spectrum. Um, oh my gosh,
Hold on. It's
what?
okay. I'm back.
Right, but basically getting this condition to where now they speak out on it and then they get blackballed.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you going against the system and what we got going on. So when it comes to representation in law, representation in the medical field, we got to create our own platforms.
Right.
Riza Islam said we keep trying to use even Instagram. We use Instagram and Facebook and whatnot to try to preach stuff,
Yeah. I,
knowing that they watching us.
yeah. Fucking love
Right.
it.
So yeah, we have to create our own platforms and like you said,
Yeah.
go back to holistic
I agree.
ways of healing ourselves.
I agree. But just like the thing with the whole time thing, before I jump into this, somebody said, I'm so grateful for y'all. Like, we're grateful for y'all, like, to be able to, like, tune in and for y'all to, like, get these messages and receive it. Like, we only vessels. So, but with the time thing, as far as, like, the medicine and things like that. Like people are so in a rush, like, oh, this is what I know, so I have to make sure that I'm good and make sure I take this medicine so it can be fast, so I can be okay. Well, but the same time, it's like one of my sisters, a robot said, what did she say? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So like basically like making sure that you are already taking your herbs and stuff so you won't even have to be sick and go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like be able to already have those things in place so you won't have to need them. Let's be able to have those holistic women and holistic men that can be able to like get their root work done so that we can be okay so we won't need them anymore. And it's just like having the mindset that we don't need other things other than what is outside. You know what I'm saying? Like being
Absolutely.
okay with the stuff that nature and God already provided for us. We don't need anything that's white. Like most of the pills are white. The ranch is white. Sugar is white. That is so toxic. Toxic. I think it is it's like one molecule off from cocaine.
Yeah, I have heard something like that before.
Like, come on now. Is it that much similar? It does not need to be in our body. Even though I still like me a little sugar every now and then, but I'm trying to get off of it. But like, there's something like to
Same
me
here.
that it's like being aware of those things and then kind of like trying to implement those in. Somebody said we don't need white facts.
Absolutely.
Like, just, oh,
Even I seen something, I haven't researched it yet, but I saw something where it's like it's a myth that your teeth's supposed to be all white. And my family and everybody else was like, oh, your teeth so white, and I'm like, bro, no, they not. But apparently that's a myth. Like your teeth is not supposed to be naturally all white. They're supposed to get a little bit yellow and stuff like that. So back to that comment, like yeah, like that all white stuff is unless you cracking open a coconut, like it's
right. And they not even like really, really bleachy white.
no,
Like, goodness.
no. And we gotta go back to one thing I've learned in business is friendships and partnerships. So when it comes to, so I encourage everybody that's watching and listening and viewing right now to continue to make connections with people that either look like you or come from your community that are in different professions. Because you're going to need a best friend when your child is sick.
Yeah.
Instead of going to a doctor that don't know you, don't know your kids, don't know your situation, is going to charge you a high-ass bill just for being in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right? Get you a friend that is into business consultancy or management and banking, all realms of life and
build
businesses.
These communities, talk to people, go out. Like
I asked my dad, I was like, how come that, and I know it's easier, but it's like, if we will never go to a white person to get our hair done and to get our hair cut, why can't we apply that same energy with everything else?
I like that. I like that.
And one thing I'm putting into practice is still a work in progress, but I'm getting encouraged because I have so many friends that do this. Like one of my guys from Chicago that's an artist. He don't really wear too much designer stuff. Pretty much everything that he wears on his body is one of his friends. Is like, think about how many with the 8 people that's on here, and between me and you, like, it's a lot of people that we know that make clothes. And it's like, if you and people be making some fly articles of clothes. If you just want a couple new hoodies for the winter,
a shirt delivered like from a black-owned business. Like, it's not a game. Like, when I tell y'all, I only shop at like thrift stores and like Plato's Closet, because like, if you see me with some designer stuff on, 9 times out of 10 it came from somebody else that didn't even freaking care about it because they threw it away. So it's like, those are the only times you'll probably see me like in designer, because I really don't care. It's not about our looks all the time, but I feel like it's black people, like, this is how we show our style, and we kind of express ourselves. But we can express ourselves in so many other different ways, and I don't feel like we have that outlet because we want to look like we're rich, but we need to be rich in our heart and our minds.
Absolutely. And we've all, and again, we don't have any, I ain't gonna say we don't have any, but many of us don't have the skills that our ancestors had to create these things. Because I've studied the Native American culture and looked at some African cultures. Them women was fly. They be like, oh, snap, sis, I see you. Okay, I see you with the beads and the bracelets and the necklaces and the charms.
Yeah.
They and their sisters made those.
Right.
They weren't
creative.
They weren't going and spending money or coins or bartering and trading with somebody else. They made that stuff on their own. And so we take that same mindset.
And men are amazing. We damn near created everything.
No, we did. The more I learn and research, just like they say with the history, the more they dig, the blacker it gets. The more I learn about creations, it all comes from us.
Yes.
They ain't made nothing new. The only thing that they have created is the patent office when they were stealing our ideas and making it their ideas or their inventions.
Woo! And why did they have to build a patent? Because it's like they already know that we can create everything. So they built this system so that, okay, well, they don't know about this, so we finna make this a law so that they can't get it. We're gonna steal what they got. And it's like, what the heck?
A lot of people still think that, I almost forgot his name because I don't even care about him. Thomas Edison, or whichever white man they say invented the light bulb. Like, okay, he might have been constructing the light bulb, but he failed several times. It was Lewis Lattimore who created the source and the material for the light to actually stay on and not blow up. And I still got a business coach who's a white man, of course, living in, and still talking about these white inventors, and I'm like, bro. Stop. I hate when people read and then to research and stop because it meets how they feel and not what's real.
It breaks their illusion. Oh, it's okay.
Like, I gotta say that again. People like to read and research only to something that aligns with how they feel and not what's real. I gotta search for the origin of something. I don't care if what I'm reading is shaking my beliefs.
Yeah.
I gotta keep finding,
with unlearning what you thought that you knew to be true.
Yeah.
In the 5th and the 4th agreement, it actually talks about how humans are creators. So we create different symbols and different symbolic meanings, but the truth still remains the truth no matter how you want to change it or however it look. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Absolutely.
you gotta be okay with the truth because it's still gonna be there. You know what? You ain't gotta be okay with it. It's still gonna remain the truth regardless.
I've,
Regardless of
I've
how
heard
you
a lot
wanna
of people
put it.
say, I've heard a lot of people say that you ain't got to be okay with the truth. It's the truth, my
It's
guy.
still gonna be there. It's still gonna be there.
Yeah, it's man.
Somebody
we
said
we could
somebody said everything in the universe, like literally everything came from blackness, darkness, like
so
everything, life.
in the book of Genesis, and this is why I still like to read and study because again, from a metaphorical and
As you
allegorical
should.
standpoint, there's truth to it. It's just that people kind of take it for a literal sense and don't
Right.
realize like a lot of that stuff, the events, some of them to a degree happen, but them like bro, first off, like this is the issue I had when I was growing up. Like, bro, what so you trying to tell me during this time that it was cats named John, James, and Timothy? Like, nah, bro.
Hmm.
Nah, bro.
Hmm. They had to watch that James Small movie. I mean James Small movie. James Small documentary
Yeah,
on
absolutely. Yeah,
the
we're gonna have to
origin of religion. Yeah.
origins of religion and spirituality. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Professor James Small, if y'all want to type that in there so that people can like go on YouTube and watch it. I think it's actually on Facebook as well too. But James Small is whew, he's a very dope person, individual,
Yeah.
man,
Um,
God.
Somebody said, "Can we talk about voting?" Before we get into that, real quick,
Mm-hmm.
the point I was making about what. So in the Bible it says that out of darkness, God created light. So going back to the Lotus birth, and this is the issue that a lot of people have, but this is a factual issue.
Mm-hmm.
A child has been in your womb for 9 months, and all of a sudden, when they're born in a hospital, they get exposed to these ultraviolet, these unnatural rays of sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely devastating to the skin
Mm-hmm.
and the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So out of darkness comes the light. That's the same thing when it comes to the different shades of color in the human species.
Mm-hmm.
They taught us that lie that black is the absence of color. Look, hey, they good, y'all. They very strategic with this. Pay attention. It's a game that they playing, and we don't even know what the game is that's being played. So they taught us that black is the absence of color, but really, if you was to take your crayon, take your kids' 24 crayons out of the box and scribble them all in one
What it come
spot,
out to be?
black,
Ooh,
blackity black,
well,
okay. And the absence of color is white. We've been taught to wear black at funerals and white at weddings, when really, if you go to the walls in ancient Kemet, it's the total opposite.
yes. Even I think like in like China, I think they wear white to funerals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they know. So
Yeah.
transition on to the voting topic.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all.
Do you
I ain't
vote?
voted since. Look, I would vote locally. Voting
Okay,
locally has more of an
that makes sense.
impact than
That
voting
make you
than
right,
voting
right, right.
for the president, because at least, and again, even then, you got to have a relationship with the people that are in office and
Mm-hmm.
helping bring decisions. I actually got to talk to some white people, y'all. Like talk to people that know, that have been in certain fields, and learn things from them. I talked to a gentleman when I was living in Indiana. I was at a bar, and he, for some odd reason, gravitated towards me, and we just started talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me how he was involved in like being in the mayor's office and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the title of this position. I had to go into my notes on my phone and go find it. But this is a person that gets information from the community. What do y'all want to see improve? Is it the roads? Is it school funding?
Yeah.
What is it? And that person goes and takes these issues to the state representative, right?
Uh-huh.
And now that state representative is bringing issues to the forefront to other representatives, House of Congress, because again, if that person wants to get reelected, they're going to address the issues of the people that are putting money into their campaign and are
Mm-hmm.
actually voting for them. But if you ain't putting money into their campaign and you ain't voting for them, and you are not in relationship with that person that goes to the office to let them know about the issues, well then you're not gonna have those changes. So I would vote lobbying. Yes, I would vote locally, but voting nationally for the president that it has never done anything.
Okay. So did they kind of like answer like some of your questions? Who is there, Grace? Who's that?
Uh, Derek Grace. I don't know who that is.
Okay. I'm not a
I'm interested to
politician.
find out.
I don't vote, so I don't really know
Yeah,
about none of
yeah.
that.
No, I ain't big on the politics thing. You could. That's a conversation you have to kind of learn me on. I know some things, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like it's just not. And again, we got to start at the economic level and equity, being producers, right, and then building up political offices, right, and everything else before we can kind of really concern. Because again, they not about to fight for us. They never had.
So can three people be on live?
I've seen it. I was looking at a live last night, and I seen like four people on the live at once. I don't
For
know
real?
what the max is. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to hop on and let us know who Derek Grace is? We have been on here for an hour, so you can't be on here long.
Already past the hour mark.
Right. Yeah, we did, but yeah, we did.
Hey,
Which
it's
is
organic.
okay. Cause okay. So we're gonna hop you on and then you gonna have to get off.
Yes, come with the enlightenment.
Okay, let's see.
I'm gonna take a note too.
Right, because I showed you then wrote it down. Okay, is it?
Here
Yo,
they come.
can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
but we can't see you.
Yeah, my bad. I love the subject to be honest, and I'm driving right now. I'll be home in a few minutes, but
Okay.
next time y'all had this subject, or like any topic at all, I love to be a part of it because I do a lot of reading on all this stuff already, and y'all touching bases uh on a lot of things that I have read about over the past few years,
Yeah.
and it makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of crazy how nobody really knows about any of this stuff, and they only think about being a consumer in this society
Yeah.
rather than continue to be creators and
Yeah.
actually, and when I said something about the art of war, I forgot who wrote the book, but it was a Japanese guy, but like
Yeah,
you really,
Shinzu, something like that. I can't
yeah,
remember how to say his name.
you in order to take over and win over the society, as black people preach about all the time, is we gotta play our role in society, but to the fullest though. We can't be consumers first. You're right, we do need equity,
Mm.
and we also need ownership, and ownership don't I'm sorry, ownership don't, and when I say ownership, I mean, like, yeah, businesses, we need real estate, we do need to put more money in banks.
Mhm.
Like, it goes deep, and it's so many battles that we have to fight at one time. It's so many distractions out here. You said that like 30 minutes ago, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like people focus are so off, you know what I mean? And when I try to preach about it to some of my peers, they look at me like I'm crazy, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like, I love the subject because you guys are speaking the language that I speak, you know what I mean? And it's not so often that people call it being woke, you know what I mean? It's not just, I don't think it's not just about being woke or anything, you know what I mean? I'm just
No.
like, it's just, you just got to pay attention, like Jim Jones just posted a video the other day talking about what Gucci wasn't doing for him, but for years we was already talking about boycotting Gucci or not buying their products because it was already going on that they wasn't supporting the black
We
community.
just said that.
Like, why
Distractions.
are you out here looking stupid when there's so many other designers out here who represent us? You know what I mean? Like, you out here spending all your millions of dollars and going on all these interviews, but you're not really supporting the people who need the support. You know what I mean? Whether if you don't think it's valuable or not, you already know what Gucci gonna do for you. You know what I mean? Like, you, it's just so redundant, I feel like,
Yeah. And
and
not to cut you off. But the thing about like even with the designers, just like Levi, like if you actually know the meaning behind it, like they literally got like two horses and they like scratching like just look at the logos and the thing like the money that we're giving out to people who don't really
Who don't give
value us.
two F's about us? You know what I mean?
You know what I'm
Like
saying? And just like Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, and even Cracker Barrel, like do y'all see
Timberland.
like the whip on the damn thing? Like it's a lot of things that you have to like kind of look at and like we're constantly like, okay, well now yeah, this fine, it's fine. You know, I'm just gonna get here and I'm just gonna it's like no, we can be putting our
yeah,
money into something else.
into
Like
other
we're not.
things.
And I'm glad we're talking about this doing tech time. So hopefully most people like save their money
No,
and they like
you
actually
are
invest into something else.
y'all already know our community. I'm not trying to be negative or anything,
No,
but
and it's
y'all
okay.
like y'all already know our community. They only think about being consumers instead of continue to be creators. We created damn near everything that this world is affiliated with. And yet and still when we get our tax money, we go blow it at every Walmart, at every Best Buy. We want to get every flat screen, all the
Yeah.
irrelevant stuff. You know what I mean?
I feel like I
It's
feel
not a
like
necessity.
and not to make an excuse, I feel like a lot of us are probably scared to jump down that road because it
We
is a
don't.
good for one, and two, it's like we don't have the resources to even get a loan to be able to go down that path. So I think it's kind of hard for us to kind of get into that space of being entrepreneurs and then also being able to have these big businesses like the other businesses so that we can be able to, uplift.
And it's very hard for a lot of people to even fathom the idea of leaving their comfort zone.
No,
That's really
that's the
the
biggest
biggest thing.
thing.
Right, right. And so hold on real quick. Is your name Derek or were you referring to somebody named Derek Grace?
No, I put Derek Grace because he in Florida, he's actually he preach about this stuff a lot. You know, he during the pandemic when it first started, he made $11 million from his home. And not just to focus people on the money part, he actually brought all the black owned businesses in his community together, and they created their own banking system. He's
Mm.
if you go to YouTube, go to YouTube and type in Derek Grace. He's like the second or the third. But the guy, he created a like Monopoly. Monopoly got their own like that's that it teaches you about the society, you know, buying real estate, buying land, and all this other stuff. But he created his own gaming system in order to teach his kids about, you know, the important
I think I know
things.
what does he look like?
He's a black guy with long red black dreads or whatever, you know. So
Is he
he
tatted? Is he tatted like
tatted
all over?
all over the face and
Yes, I know
everything.
who you talking about, bro. Dr.
Oh,
Boyce
snap.
Watkins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He got
man.
a
He
wife,
he been
right?
doing it for years. He been doing that
yes,
for
Dang.
years.
yes,
Yes. And he said
yes,
he got his tattoos on his face so he can know, like, he won't be able to get a job so that he
yes,
can make something for himself. I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm
yeah.
like, but things in practice like that so that we can get into this space and go to those people. But it's like, we don't want to spend our money on things that's going to help us get further than, the like basic life, the physical life. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't think about long term anymore or at
We
all,
No,
rather.
we
and that's the biggest thing. Like most people, when I was younger, when I was in high school, to be honest, I ain't think about 25. You know what I mean? You're right. I was only
Right.
thinking about that current time frame that I was in. I didn't even see myself going to college at all. You know what I mean? Like it's just our own community. We only, with us being distracted by so many things, we're limited. You know what I mean? To where we can actually really take our abilities. You know what I mean? Like it's that's why I said we gotta like in abroad. If you go to other countries, go to the Philippines, go to India. If you're born in a social system, but in America, you're not born anything. You're not born in you're it's kind of the same. But if your family is full of doctors, you already know you gotta be the next one.
Mm,
Black people don't do that. We don't represent like that. We want to make it easier for our child because we had it hard. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I feel that.
that's what slows us down. We gotta continue to be that push, whether if it's too expensive. Look, take that debt. Take it because
Yeah,
the degree gonna pay for it anyway. Once you
yeah,
get that job, doctors make so much money, bro. Like, and it's not even just doctors. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a dentist, you could be an anesthesiologist. You could like, it's
But
so
and
many.
a lot of, and not to, because I am sorry for cutting you off, but a lot of what I'm realizing, because my dad used to always try to talk to me about being an engineer or a lawyer because he saw certain skills in me, right? But at the same time, there is no image of any black engineers or lawyers and things of that nature, right? So yes, I automatically gravitate towards my love for the game of basketball. What do I see all day? Michael Jordan, Kobe,
right.
Shaq, everybody dominating the game of basketball is black. So you could say I easily probably fell into that group of young black boys where it was like, this is the only way to get out. It was really truthfully love of the game. But when it comes to these other professions, even if people do know about somebody that looks like us, man or woman, we don't get told. We don't get told. You hear something in the background, it might be him.
No,
Where we have the background noise.
I thought I had a tree breaking out there. Like, hold on, there. Let me go. What we doing right here?
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
but it's something that's not talked about. We aren't seeing those faces. It's starting to change. You're starting to see a lot more like Buddy from Everybody Hates Chris. You know, he's on a show now where he's a teacher. And
I
I
I
love
did
encourage
it.
some of y'all.
elementary.
So yeah, elementary teacher. If y'all ain't been watching the Bel Air series on Peacock, if y'all got
I
Peacock,
love the
watch it,
representation on it,
I
on the
bruh.
Bel
haven't watched
Air.
it
the,
yet.
the whole spin is so beautiful. So we ain't gonna get into no details, but when you get a chance, you need to go ahead and tune in because
Okay.
it's definitely a beautiful spin. One thing I love in particular is that the characters or the
Are
actors and
all.
actresses. Yep, yep.
I
Give
did
me
see
through
like that. I was like, that is
it.
interesting. I love that.
Right.
But one thing I do want to point out to y'all so that we can keep like this space like uplifted. I do want y'all to know because we are having these conversations, like something is changing. Like it's a shift happening. So I do want y'all to understand, like, and I feel like as black men, it's kind of a little bit hard on y'all. It is also hard on us because if y'all are suffering, we as women are suffering. I know like the community is not as what we want it to be right now. Like we are still with y'all, like regardless. So I do want y'all to know, like, because we're having these conversations and because we're in this space, like something good is finna come out of this. It takes time.
It do
Keep
take time, but it takes unity as well. It's
Yeah.
not just time; it's consistency with unity. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't focus their time and attention on. You know what I mean? Like we only care, like you said, like eh, people people only think about now.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
people don't nobody really invest. Don't nobody like only thing that's really influencing people is the music. You know what I mean? And people like with this Illuminati stuff saying that everything is demonic or everything. You know what I mean? Like it's not really
It's a
about
smoke
that.
screen. It's a smoke screen. Well,
Yeah,
what's your name, brother?
William.
William. That's a great name, bro. So to piggyback off what you're saying, because I was definitely gonna say the same thing about the now. People so focused on the now and not the long term. I've been doing financial services for a couple of years now, and what I learned how a lot of people, white, black, Asian, whatever, get wealthy and don't even own a business is long term investing and putting their
That's
money
what
to
it
the
is.
side and being frugal and living below their means. But at the same time, most of us have not been educated about how money works. Life,
Works. Facts.
life, life
Financial
insurance is
literacy.
life insurance is an investment for income protection for so if a mother or father passes away, the family can still have or maintain their lifestyle, right?
Right.
People don't know about putting in money into mutual funds instead of the bank, so your money can grow a lot faster, and you actually have a retirement income and not depending on your job's 401k and Social Security, right? And to wrap what I'm saying up, and this is what people in the past have had to realize when it comes to their cultures as well. We can't expect everybody to come with us.
Mm.
What's his name? What's his name? Dr. Umar Johnson. He said all the
Mm-hmm.
time, man. Some of them sleep and got to put them to sleep because everybody ain't gonna want to come along. You know, everybody. It's not just to make everything about race or anything,
Yeah.
but we are the zero factor, and and I'm trying. I like my peers. I really try to keep them on game about what's been going on politically, but we just brought our troops out of Afghanistan, and the policies and stuff that they got that they pushed were actually for the people that they brought over from Afghanistan who didn't want to be a part of the Taliban. So like when I text earlier saying that people are cut like POC, when you ever get on the news or you ever read an article and they talking about POC, they not talking about black people, because
Yeah.
black people are only referred to as African Americans or simply black. They say those in the press conferences. They say those in the debates. People of color are like the Asians, are the Philippines, are the Afghanistan's people. Like they don't represent us not one bit,
And
bro.
even some of those political terms, like the African American, there was a lady that tried to kind of argue with me, and it's really all about identity for me at the end of the day. And I know there's some truth to this. Even politically, other cultures are able to identify themselves as African American, even though they ain't a lick of
Even
black.
facts. just and then they end up getting a better benefit than we get.
Yes, yes.
like like we have so little representation, and it's so sickening. You know what I mean? And like watching the movies, watching some of the, like I had to go through like a lot of old school movies or whatever, and just learn about the times, or just like reading some of the books or reading some of the articles, or actually listening to some. Like even I started back learning history from like 1860s. You know what I mean?
You
Like
have
because
to.
like you really have to
That's what I do.
dig deep, yo.
That's what I do.
Like
I read.
you gotta dig deep, and it's
Yeah, I rock
sad.
with you, William.
Like you
I
gotta
don't feel like it's sad. I feel like it's us really trying to learn the history so that we want ourselves repeated. So then when we have our children, we can kind of like teach them, okay, this is what happened, so I'm gonna tell you this so we can make it the right thing.
exactly.
Like
You
creating
gotta
that
know your
unity in
history,
your
or it's
home
bound to
first.
repeat itself.
Yep. It does. It does. It does.
Yeah.
But we
I
can,
will.
what did I say?
Okay, to kind of bring it back into a more positive note, like you were saying earlier, um, we got to remember again, one, like not everybody can come with us, and we got to also remember like the condition that we're in mentally and emotionally is not of our own doing. We've been programmed, and
Program
so
facts.
we do have to remain patient with our other brothers and sisters. If they do come along, if they
Right.
don't come along.
Yeah.
One of my favorite former Baptist preachers who now preaches African spirituality, his name is Ray Hagins. He was like, I had to learn when it comes to the older folks, if they want to still praise Jesus and the third, I know what they really mean in the symbolism aspect of it, but that don't mean that I shun them and disregard them. And even one older brother told him, like, brother, if you don't teach, how we ever gonna learn?
Right.
So continue to teach and continue to grow yourself. One of my goals for this year is to constantly learn more than I teach, right? So constantly, edify yourself and educate yourself, and always pour into people,
Yeah.
and understand that again, like everybody ain't gonna come with you, but
Yeah.
we're definitely in a progressive motion.
And then also too, like once we are explaining things to different people, even though they might not hear us now, they will hear us later.
They gonna hear us
So
later,
see, you
but
know what I'm
then it
saying?
might be too late.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. It is okay. It's okay. But it's like being able to also understand who is understanding of what you're trying to say. Ain't no need for arguing. Like we don't need all of that. Just say what you gotta say. Keep it pushing. Cause some people gonna look at you crazy. Then after like 2 months, they're like, "Dang, like this is what they mean." Because you planted their seed. It's like they're gonna go. It's like you opened that space for them because they had to listen to you, so that when they go out, they're going to like this basically creating this space so they can open up and be able to like move on.
Yep, I had that happen several times in this adult life that I'm experiencing right now. So many things that my dad tried to tell me in middle school and in high school, and I
Yeah.
remember it or whatever, it stuck, but not I didn't really could apply it. And then all of a sudden I go to something, I'm like,
To
damn.
To be honest, I didn't even have the pleasure to be taught these things. So as I was growing up, maturing through elementary, like I was in elementary. I went to so many schools, but like
Same here.
when I was in elementary, I didn't understand, you know what I mean, that I couldn't say certain things, or I didn't understand why these certain kids was getting treated better than, the black or Hispanic kids, you know what I mean? Like I got pulled out of a school because I started speaking up on some of the things that was going on in the classroom when I was in the third grade. So my brother ended up pulling me out, taking me to Whitehaven Elementary or whatever. And so like it was just crazy. But like going, like maneuvering through middle school, maneuvering through high school, it's like people know, like the older generation know, but they don't want to say anything about it because they so stuck in their own ways. And 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 like what you said, your dad was teaching you, like my my mom and dad knew what was going on in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s or
Yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? But like they were so stuck in their ways, they didn't want to make a change in anything. You know what I mean? Like
Or
they
maybe,
just
maybe it's that they didn't feel like they could make a
it
change.
only it only take one person.
But it's hard. Like, do
You
you know
gotta
what you have
so
to go through? You really
right.
literally
So
have to go through a
let me
lot.
let me expound on that. So I literally
Okay.
had a very serious conversation with my mother today about um we talked about the Bel Air series. We also talked about mental health and then childhood trauma, right? And I've had to mature because I've
Therapy.
had to talk to it, right? I've had to talk to a therapist. My sister went today. And I had to talk to a therapist who was a black woman, and it was awesome. Um, and I expressed my feelings about, how things went as I grew up. My mom got married, life transitioned into something different, moved around a whole lot. And I still had a lot of pent up tension about a lot of things. Now, when I
Mhm.
say my dad taught me stuff, I'm talking about like some of them small life lessons about like, you know, worrying about your finances and getting your life together before you try to go out and have a girl and have kids and stuff like that. I ain't talking about nothing on the history side or being a black man. I ain't get taught none of that. It wasn't until I watched Hidden Colors 2 where I was like, okay, let me start digging and reading some more. But what I've had to realize to make my point is that I've had to come to the discernment that people grow so differently when it comes to how their thought process and what they deal with in their own childhood, how they grow as a young adult and as an adult. And so we
Yeah.
try to sometimes, look down or blame or bash or whatever
Yeah.
somebody for not speaking or not growing. Everybody different. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it's right,
Yeah.
but everybody different and grow at different levels. Because I tell you right now, brother, when it comes like just the financial service, I'm looking at other people like, damn, how come you getting stuff so fast, right? But everybody look at me like I'm the wizard, I'm the smart guy, I got all this big vocabulary and stuff. So yeah, everybody grow at different levels.
You got to be okay
You took the
with
time to
triggers and
dig.
boundaries when we talking about deep, uncomfortable conversations like this. So it's like being able to know how to speak and then also be like, I really need to know this so that I can break these curses and things like that. But I don't feel like we in a curse. We just have to break the illusion. I don't want to feel like I'm in a curse because I'm not cursed. We are not cursed. We are not broken. We are not hurt. It's like we just have to move through the things that
We're,
we've been through.
we're just misunderstood.
That's all.
That's all.
Honestly, I
But
think they understand us. They just, but hey, we ain't gonna talk about that. They know exactly. They didn't study us enough to know and understand what we about and what we can do. We have to understand who we are and how to get and navigate through these spaces.
yeah, I realized that I realized once I did a not an autobiography, but I did a biography on Marcus Garvey,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
Y'all
and
names
yeah,
like
today.
and like it's like during his era, like of course he wasn't considered African American or black or whatever. Like they
Pan
after wait
Africanism,
yeah, after he did his damage to society, you know what I mean, in a positive way, they sent him back abroad, you know what I mean,
exile.
like yeah, you know what I mean, like he was too powerful just to be a common citizen, you know what I mean,
Mm.
like it's crazy, but like as I was like going over his time frame of like his or his lifespan, and seeing the things how he was making an impact to his people with his people, even at a young age, at the age of 18, like really from the ages to 16 to like 23, this man had already started movements with his jobs, starting boycotts, standing up with his people and not against his people, even when money came into play. And not only that, he traveled more people. Like, we have to travel more people. Like I'm just now getting my passport like a year or two ago, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like I feel like we have to travel more to in order to understand what's really going on, because once you go abroad and you learn the things that they got going on, for one, you won't hear the word negro, nigger, none of that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't identify us as that. It's only like that in America. And like, when I was reading about Marcus Garvey and how he had went to like 4 or 5 different countries, and of course people that looked like us, but they were still being treated the same or whatever. They were still colonized, or they were still, um, you know, just being mistreated in general. He felt like he had to do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people are so like, we only know about America, and that's really not the only thing we need to know about. In order to know what's really going on over here, we got to know what's going on in other places as well.
I
So
agree.
I feel like we like our people really got to grow mentally, and it's not a fast thing. It may seem like, it has to be a fast thing because we've been lost out on time so like for so many centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just, if it's bad, on the catching up that we have to do. But once you get a good grasp of everything, I feel like I feel like not everybody, but the individuals who take the time, because it is a little time consuming, and it might make you
Yep.
upset when you learn about some things. You know
Yep.
what I mean? But it's just, once you take the time to dig, then you might want to make a difference. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's all I gotta say.
Cause I was like, okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up because we've been out here for like 2 hours. So I really want people to like be able to like break this and
Talk.
dissect this live. So, but it's like it's really was a good live. Like, it was a lot of good information out here. So I don't want people to be like, people's time. People don't have time, but hopefully they will watch this live. I'm so grateful for both of y'all coming out here. It was so good seeing like this platform, black, like y'all really gave each other a lot of brotherly love, and I love that about that.
Hey, soon as I
We
got on and heard the topics I was talking about, I was literally at the store, and I was like, dang, bro, I'm
You're like, I'm
glued
not gonna
in.
hear.
Like, I gotta
I'm
tap
gonna miss
in, yo.
this.
Like it just warms me, honestly, that like, like more people are becoming aware.
Yeah.
That's all. And not being blind, or not being, screened, to the distractions that comes to the everyday life. So, but that's all. It was great talking to y'all, though.
Thank you.
likewise,
Thank
brother.
you for coming in.
No problem. No
What's your
problem.
what's your
Um, my
um
my
handle? Yeah.
my Instagram is 2 underscores October 17.
All right,
Um,
bet.
yeah. So just add me, and I cleared my page because I felt like I was gonna be on the rebranding mission.
Mm,
Like, I'm a silent mover. I'm a silent storm.
as you should.
Like,
Just
I
like
feel
we just
like,
said, you can't take everybody with you. It's okay
yeah,
to make the movement by yourself. Sometimes you gotta isolate. You grow in
yeah,
darkness. Okay. Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, just follow me. And next time you guys have one of these discussions, man, I don't mind sharing the little knowledge that I have, or bringing the shit. I got hella books. I
Sound
be
like it
all in
don't
my
sound
20.
like little knowledge. Sound like you have
Right.
a
I'm
lot.
sure
I
about
was
to
like,
say, first of all, excuse me, sir.
I I just try to undermine myself, because I don't like, some people think I'm so witty, or I try to be so witty, and it's not even that, to
It's
be
okay to
honest. I
talk your
just
shit. Open your throat chakra.
nah, real talk. So I seen something about humility, and we've always kind of been taught to be humble, when really humble
facts.
is putting somebody else
Press it.
above you and putting
Yeah.
yourself down.
Yeah.
So Now
Yeah,
That's
it's
just the
one thing when
point.
you
I just lost the
right.
job because I wasn't humble. I ain't keep my mouth closed. You know what I mean? So and they got rid of me. You know
That's
what I
what I'm
mean?
saying. Like being, knowing who you're speaking with, knowing if they're going to understand you, knowing to pick your battles. Those are like the top things like that you have to be okay with. Some certain things you can't say, certain things you know. But I don't want to tell you to don't speak on something that you want to, because you are suppressing yourself. But sometimes you have to know when to pick your battles, and I'm learning that as well. Trust me, like I'm learning it as well. So,
Yep. If you allow all energies to affect you and
right.
you react in a negative manner, well, then they have power over you. So, and that's kind of what I was trying to tell my parents about the
Oh my
Juwan
God.
Howard situation with the fight with Michigan and Wisconsin. Is sometimes, oh, yeah, they want us to be docile as black men and black women, but sometimes we as more enlightened people have to be aware of the situation and know when to get hot and when to be cool. You feel me? So, that's that. I don't want to keep talking too much more. It's actually getting close to 8:30, and I need to be getting back to some other work. Um, I do want to leave y'all with something, man. African proverb. I didn't know it was African proverb. I heard my white business coach say it all the time, and come to find out it's an African proverb. But it's goes to some of the stuff we've been saying earlier. If you want to go fast, go alone.
Mm,
If you want to go far, you go together.
mm.
Hey, that's a good one.
So is it? I love that. Is it something you want to share with us, William?
Honestly, no. I'll be more equipped next time. Y'all kind of caught me off guard with the subject, but I'll definitely have some seeds to sow next time we speak.
Gotcha.
How
But I feel
often
like
do
you
you
already
guys talk?
been throwing in stuff so people can, go back to. So,
Yeah, just read the messages I type. Y'all up on game. Y'all
actually, they don't even see them once, we get off live. So we have,
got you.
yeah, but it's okay because we actually been speaking on it. So they going to be fine.
Got you. Okay. Well, how often do y'all even do these talks or whatever?
Well, really, like I host them and then like I like post, I supposed to do it. Supposed to, how life be lifing. So I was supposed to do it. So I supposed to do them every other Wednesday. So that's basically 2 times a month. So people just
Okay.
gravitate towards it like at 6:30, and so yeah. But is it something like more y'all would like to speak about? Because that can be like the next topic. I know my next topic is gonna be like on hair, so make sure y'all tune in. I know y'all don't probably want to, but it's okay.
It's
Oh
it's
no,
a
we
this is
touching
something
everything.
that this is something that has actually inspired me early today that I need to do a live every Friday on financial tips, whether it be one or two tips just to throw out there,
Yeah.
and then maybe do something on another day of the week where it's more uplifting, because I've seen how much when people do lives, people be like, oh, there's somebody doing a live, let me tune in and see what they're talking about,
Yeah.
and then depending on what the topic of conversation is, they might
They
stick around, they
right.
might leave it there while they're doing some work, so. I'll be honored to be a part of this whenever you want me to be a part of it, Bree. Because this is fun.
So would you want to talk about the finances? Because you also like would you want to
Yes,
talk? Because I feel like we are
yes.
kind of like a little bit low on our financial literacy. I think that's kind of like the problem of like everything. So I think that'll be another topic that we can definitely start talking about. I see somebody like
Yep.
liking it, so I'm guessing they're agreeing too. So
Absolutely. I can even chime in a little bit about the hair. I don't know too much about like the health portion, but I know the power of our hair. You feel me? So
mm.
like
So
our hair
that
naturally
okay. So
grows
make sure
up.
y'all tune in next. It's March the 9th. It should be the second week. So March 9th, I will be on live with someone else. Fro Punzel. She will be on the next live, and we'll be talking about hair and
Yeah.
how how it works and everything. So definitely y'all make sure y'all tune in. But I'm really happy that y'all took the time out. Like you drove like the whole time and you've been watching it ever since, and you are in St. Louis. Like this is amazing. Like I'm really happy that I connected with both of you guys. Like I'm just today was a good day. Okay. I
Blessings to you, Bree, Shay, Otep, everything that you've been doing before we got connected. This type of platform and these discussions that you will continue to have, not just like what we've had today, but even in the future are going to impact people so much. I can tell just from the comments, the hearts going up. You feel me?
Yeah,
So
definitely make me cry.
this is this is something that is needed. I'm so glad to be a part of it. I can't wait to do more.
Yeah.
I say an OTEP to everybody that's watching right now. If you don't know what I say an OTEP means, they're ancient Kemetic terms. Ashe means power, and OTEP means peace.
I
Oh,
love the
Ashe
knowledge.
means also so be it. So if you want to say
Yes, yes.
something powerful affirmation, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So peace and
Ashe.
blessings to all of y'all. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I hope to see y'all March 9th. Peace out, y'all.